Hi guys, welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to be learning everything that has to do with foot rotation. Let's learn how to get a character's leg to rotate in 360 degrees, alright? So follow this video to the end so that you can learn everything that we have to share. Hi guys, so in this tutorial, we'll be looking at how we can create a foot turn. Alright, so we'll go through the process of creating a very simple foot turn. Alright, so you understand the basics, and then in a future tutorial or in a future video, we'll get into how to create the detailed foot turn. Alright, so here we'll just get over the basics. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is first of all, we have to create our foot. So we'll come to our leg, left leg, and then we'll create something that should look like a foot. I'll just use a triangle for this. Okay, so let's see this, something like this here, like this here. Okay, maybe we can just make it the same color with the body. Okay, so remember what we are doing is that we're just getting over the basics in this tutorial. In a future tutorial, in a future video, we'll look at how we made something as complex as this, and then something even more complex than that. But let's just get over the big details. Alright, so let's rig this leg. Put a rig. Just add the bone. Make sure it's parented, well parented. Okay. Alright, so for this foot, I'm going to add another bone. I usually start with a pin bone, then I'll add the bone for the up and down movement, and then I'll also add the bone for the side movement. Okay, make sure everything is well parented. Okay, so let's call this our foot up, down, and then we'll call this our foot left, right. Alright, so let's differentiate this. This is supposed to be our left foot, so let's call this let's just use L foot up, down, left, right, and call this excuse me, L foot up, down. Okay, so so let's start with this. Okay, so right now we're assuming that this foot is facing forward. So let's make it look as though it's facing forward. Right, so we assume that the character's foot is facing forward. So what we do is to get into this bone and then make a smart bone dial. Leave this at 96. Okay, our bone just fled. I don't know why it keeps doing this. Return this to 0. Sorry. I think it should be at 270. Okay, so let's add some bones to control the foot. So select this bone here, then we'll click, start with a pin bone, then I'll add one bone facing up, then I'll add another facing right, facing the left direction. So this bone, I'll call it my left foot, left right, left foot, left right. Then this bone, I'll call it my left foot, excuse me, up, down. All right, so here we'll start with this and we'll make a smart bone dial. So I just use my shortcut shift Q. Leave this at 96 frame, 1990. Okay. Alright, so everything is fine. Alright, so at this point, I think we can make a correction here. This is supposed to be 180 degrees, since our foot will be turning 180 degrees. Alright, so we want it to be at 180 degree. 180 plus or minus 180, okay? So now the rotation should be 180 degrees. I'll just push that down. And then for the other side, I'll push this down as well to 180 degrees. Alright, so it's the same thing as, making a smart bone dial, and I just corrected the mistake I made earlier. So initially it was rotating at 90 degrees, but now it's rotating at 180 degrees. I just corrected it, completed it to 180 degrees rotation. So 180 degrees in 96 frames. Okay, so let's get back here. At the 48th frame, I'm going to move this leg out so it looks as though the leg is facing this direction. Alright, so I'll just move this out a little. Okay, and then at the end, I'll select everything here and reset. Now at this point, this will be facing inwards. Okay, so somewhere here at the beginning, it should be facing somehow this. So this is the left foot, and then this point turns this way, and then at this point it returns and is facing the other direction. Okay, so let's get to the other foot. So I'll just copy this, then I'll come to my right foot and paste. Alright, so I'm trying to make the other leg now, so I'll work on it. Excuse me. Or instead of pasting, let me just delete this and create a fresh one. Let's create something fresh. Okay. Alright, so let's add the bones. Bone, add bone. I'll add a pin bone. Add one bone goes up for the left, right. Add another one for the up, down, right. So let's name the bones. Call this our right foot, left, right. Call this our right foot, up, down. Call this our right foot, up, down. Okay, so let's create a smart bone dial for this. Right, so let's correct the mistake. This time is going to be 180 by 180, 96 frames. Okay, so like usual, my bone will always jump out of its position, so I'll just bring it back. I'll correct it. Alright, so this is just a correction. It may not be the same with your own Moho but it's just an issue I've been encountering of recent with my Moho. So every time I'll have to go and correct this. Alright, so now my bone is rotating 180 degrees on both sides. Okay. Alright, so here at the 48th frame, I'll push this out. Push this out a little. And then in the 96th frame, I'll just reset, and then I'll pull this out to this place. Okay, so let's work on the other side. For the other side, we'll pull this in, pull this out, and then come here, select everything and reset. Right, so this time I'm facing this direction as well. Okay, so let's work on the right foot, the other direction, the second direction. So for this direction, we are facing this way this time. From here to here. And then at the beginning, we'll just pull this back. So let's just test and be sure that our rig is working. Alright, so for our foot we have, oops, that's not what I want. Supposed to select the body. Then we'll move this around. Okay. Okay, so let's be sure that it's working. The foot turn, let's sync the foot turn with the leg turn. First of all, let me remove this bone strength. Set this to 0. Okay, so let's sync it with the leg turn. So for the legs, I'll come to the leg turn. Okay, we didn't do bone binding. Let's do that right now. So this point, I'll select this bone, select the bind point, select the legs, and then bind. Select this bone, select this, select the point, use this point binding tool and select all the points and bind. Alright, so how do you bind points to a bone? You first select the bone, select the bind point tool, then select the points that you want to bind, and then click bind points. Okay, so for leg turn, I think everything should be fine right now. Okay, so at this point, I want my this bone to be facing this direction. So I'll use the transform point tool. Should be facing this direction. I'll just put 90 degrees there. And then this one as well should be facing this direction. I'll just put, it should be 0 degrees. Okay, so then at this point, I will bring this down, and I'll bring this down. Okay, so we have something that looks like, so the leg turn is now signed, the foot turn is now signed with the leg turn. Let's do that for the other side as well. From this point, move this, let's put 180 degrees there. Then at this point, oops, let's do that for the other side too. Call this 270 degrees. At this point, we'll set it to 0, drop it down to the angle. Okay, so we have our foot turn syncing with our leg turn. Okay, So the next thing we're going to work on now. So that's the basic principle for foot ton. Okay, so let's get into building a shoe that looks more realistic, so we can understand this principle very well, right? Because now we will not be able to make the up down movement of the leg if we don't have um, a more realistic leg, a more detailed foot. All right, so let me get into this place, and then I'll put this inside the group. Oops. Okay, let me put this inside the group, and let's still call it the left leg. Okay, I'll do that for this as well. Call this the right leg. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this. Okay, for this, I'm going to call it my foot. Also for this, I'm going to call it my foot. Right, so within the leg, the right leg, I'm going to delete the foot because I don't want a foot in there. All right, and within the foot, I'm going to delete the legs. All right, so just right, so we just no. Just add a point here. Okay, so I'll just delete every other thing aside the foot. Okay, so we have on this layer we have just the foot, and on this layer we have just the legs. Okay, so everything is well separated. I'll do the same here for the foot. I'm going to add a point here because I don't want that triangulated vector layer. Okay, so it's just the foot that is left here. Then for the leg, I'll delete the foot. Okay, so everything is fine. Then this, my foot, I'm going to put it inside the group as well. I'll call this my shoe. I'll just call this a shoe. Do that for this side. I'll call it a shoe as well. Okay, so I'll enable masking. I'll also enable masking. But let me just work on one foot at a time. So I'll turn all this off. Alright, so here I'm enabling masking. So this now happens to be my mask. So for this mask, I'm going to make it look a little bit like, like a shoe. Nothing fancy, just something so we can get an idea of the process. Alright, so I'm going to make this look a little bit like a shoe. Not something not very serious. I'm going to add a few points here. Okay. Okay, I think we can work with this. All right, so I'm now going to add a vector layer on top of this. I'll call this the base of the shoe. Base. Here I'm going to add just simple shape to just form the base of the shoe base. I'm just going to make this white. Add a few points here. Okay, so The next thing, let me just just add a new layer. Then I'll call this, let me just use my blob tool to just make something that looks like a shoelace. So I'm going to add just 2 shoelaces. I think this is too big. One, 2, 3. Right? I think we can work with this. Okay, now let's get back to our thing. Let me add one more thing. Let's add one more thing. I'm using Ctrl P on my keyboard to access the curvatures tool quickly. Okay, I think this is okay for what we're working on. All right, so I'll get back to my action and select the left foot turn. Let's start with this. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to just, arrange my shoe to look as though it's facing the other direction. We are here. Pull this out. Okay, pull this out. Space this out a little, just to give the illusion that the shoe is turning around. Okay, so we have something like this. Alright, so at this point I'm going to select all these points and reset. Okay, now that I've done a reset, I'm going to go in and push this all the way to this direction. I'm going to need to add a few more points here. Need one more point here. Let's get back here and then come this way. Reset. Okay, so I'm going to pull this out this way, pull this out this way, pull this out this way. Just so that it looks as though the shoe is facing the other direction. I'll just reset this. this up, bring this up, bring this down. So it sells the illusion as though we're looking at the shoe from behind. Okay, so let's push these guys. Let's bring them here. We'll have to see a little bit of this. So from here, I don't want this part to start extruding yet, so I would reset at this point. I'll still reset at this point. Okay, so from here to here, I think is okay. Let's bring it closer. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to select these people and flip them. Come back here and reset the flip. Okay, so at this point, I just want to flip them and then move them all the way to this side. Okay, so just have that sudden movement. And then here we can reset. And then flip, then bring them here. Here I can pick this sharp. Okay, so what do I do with you? Can I flip it? No, I can't. Let's flip this. Let's rotate it. I think I want them to be looking as though they are coming from the top. Pick this. This is too sharp. Right, so at least you've gotten the idea. Okay, from here, let's make this a little bit higher. Okay. Okay, so that's how you get your foot turning. So we've done the same, we've done it here. So let's work on the other side. For the other side, while the shoe is facing this direction, and let's just select everything and reset. Then we're going to push this out. Push this out. Push this out, then select all these, squash them in. Maybe you might want to look at this, the shape here, so you can get an idea. move this in, bring it down, take it up here. Right, so bring this all the way here, and let's reset this because we don't want it to be moving yet. Okay, so we don't want it to move yet. Let's bring it up, bring the reset up to this point. Even closer. So we don't want it to move just yet. Okay, so we're supposed to be working on this, the lace, the shoelace somewhere here. Let's have you here. Let's have you. No. Okay, so we have this, then we'll come to this point to select everything and then reset. Right, so while we reset, so that we can get an idea of what more like we're getting back to the home screen. Okay, we have this, then we can squash this in. Okay, so we have it. So that's our leg turn So let's test our animation. Always ensure you test before you move over to the other phase, to another level. So we have to test this to make sure it's working out fine. So we have this, okay. All right, so that's good. Let's test it with our electron. Okay, the new layers we added has not been bounded to any bond, so let's go and do that. So we just use the bind layer tool and select this point, select this as well. Okay, so let's get back to see if that's working fine. Okay, so you can see we have our perfect foot tone. Right, so at this point we assume that she's facing backwards. He is facing backwards, so the legs are not facing the other direction. Okay, so what we are going to do now is, instead of going through the stress of creating the second leg, of course you can create it for the left leg as well. Alright, so but instead of not go through that process, I'll just delete this. Then I'll make a duplicate of this and drag it all the way into the second foot. Alright, so we also have our shoe here. Right, so now I'll just bind the entire foot layer to this bone. Okay, and then I'll flip it, and see we have the foot here. Right, so we'll now go over the process of assigning the actions, copying the keyframes from the left foot, right foot, and copying them to the left foot. Okay, it's because if you observe right now, the legs, I don't want this control to control both foots. I want this to be the one to control this left leg. So I'm going to go in now and transfer these keyframes. The keyframes from this to this. Okay? And it's very technical, so you have to follow me carefully. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, right, so for this leg, for this foot, it has got a keyframe on the right foot, the first right foot action. So I'll copy all the keyframes there. I'll cut, as a matter of fact, cut, and then I'll get to the left foot second. Right, so we're copying from the first of the right foot to the second of the left foot. So I'll come here and then I'll just paste. Right, so let's do that again. So we'll select this. And select all the keyframes for all the points. Select all the keyframes. We will cut. Right, so and then we'll come to the left foot action and then we'll paste the keyframes here. Control V. Okay, let's just click to add the keyframe, then we'll go back and paste here. Okay, so we've got the action. We just transferred it from the right foot, the first right foot action, to the second left foot action. We'll do the same for this. We'll cut, and then we'll come to the left foot, from the right foot second to the left foot first, and paste. So I'll just click to add a keyframe. I think it's easier that way, right? So that we can just select the first frame, the 0 frame, and then paste. Right, so we've got everything fine. Right, so before we move on, let's be sure that everything is working fine. So let's come here. Right, so if I should move the right foot, you can see the mask is not moving. It's just the ones inside. We are here to copy the keyframe for the ones inside. Right, so it's moving fine. And then this is also moving fine. Right, why we had to interchange it is so that if this is moving, if the bone movement in this direction would correspond to the bone's movement, to the keyframe's movement in this direction. So let's copy for the base as well. So we'll come to the base, copy from the right second, we cut from here because we don't want it anymore from here. Then we'll come to the left foot, first. Come here, we click to add a keyframe using the transform points to click to add a keyframe, and then we paste here. Right, so we'll do the same for the shoelace layer too. So we'll come to the, okay, we're not done with the base. Yes, let's copy from the right first foot as well. So let's copy from here, copy, or cut rather, and then we'll get to the left foot second action. So let's select this, left foot second action. Then we'll select the base as well. Come to frame 1, click, return to 0, and paste. Right, so it has been transferred. Then we'll get to the lace. Let's just call this the lace, so you can know it well. Ensure you name your layers very well. Okay, so we'll copy from the right foot second, copy, cut rather, because we want it out of this place. Then we'll get to the left foot first. Yeah, we'll click to add a keyframe so that we can have something to paste on. Then we'll return to the zero frame, and then we paste. Copy from the right foot second. We are copying from here, copy, cut rather, and then we'll get to the left foot, right foot first, left foot second. Click to add the keyframe, and then we paste. Alright, so I believe everything should be fine by now. Oops, I didn't, that was unintentional. So get here, everything should be fine by now. So let's test. Right, so you see we have this turning on its own. We have this also turning on its own. Okay, and then we should rotate the entire foot. So we have our legs turning with the leg turn, and you can as well move this around, see, right? So everything is working fine. Finally, let's work on the up and down movement of the foot, the up and down movement. So let's get into that. So for this, let's start with the right foot this time. The right foot, so click, add smart, make smart ball dial. This time we want it to be 90 degrees, 90. Okay, so my ball just changed direction. So I'll just return it back to 0. And once I return it back to 0, I have to go back and correct the rotation here. So you see I have to correct this. Okay, so 19 degrees in 96 frames. Turn the other direction. Then I'll work on the other side as well. Are we good? Okay, so let's get back here for the right foot. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sell the illusion that this foot is facing up. So I'm going to drag, okay, sorry, on the 96 frame. We'll push this up, push this up, push this up. Just anything to make the foot look as though it's facing up. Again, nothing fancy, just for illustration purpose, right? Just anything to make this foot look like it's facing up. Okay, so I'm gonna work on the base. I'm going to turn this layer off so that I can see the base properly. So the most important part of this face is the base. So you have to know how to move this base of the foot, so it look as though he just raised his leg up. Okay, so let's tweak this a little bit more, and this should come out better. Again, the purpose of this is just to sell the illusion that the legs is facing upwards, nothing more. Okay, let's work on the lace. Push this way. Okay, I think that's fair enough. Let's work on the other side. For the foot to point down, so let's work on the other side. So let's select the base, the foot itself on the 96 frame. Alright, so we'll just do the opposite of what we did earlier. base. On the lace, let's name this as well. Lace. Okay, so I think that's it. We got what we want. Let's be sure it's working fine. Right, so we have our leg up, down, up, down, up, down. Reset. We have our leg left, right, left, right. Okay, so what we can do is to now go, like we did earlier, is to transfer the keyframes from here to here. Okay, so let me do that quickly. Do that very quickly. So I'll come to this place. For the right, up and down, I'm going to copy all the keyframes here. Copy, cut rather. Then I'll get to okay. Let's make some keyframes. Not keyframe, rather the smart bone, smart action for the left foot up and down. So let's do this. Come here, bring this back to 0 to the 180 degrees. 180. We'll correct this. Okay, so after we've created the smart action for the left foot as well, the up and down movement of the left foot, we'll come to the individual parts of this shoe and copy the keyframes. This time we're copying, we're not cutting, since we didn't do any duplication. There was no duplication of the foots. We can't cut from here, so we'll just come in for the base. We'll copy this time, not cut. Then come to the left foot up and down. This time we're not switching anything, so we're copying it as it is from the right foot to the left foot for the up and down movement. So we'll come to the base of the left foot and then we'll paste the keyframes. If you do not understand, please go back and rewatch this video so you understand. So I'll paste it here. Right, so I'll come to the base and I'll go to the left, to the mask, go to the right foot up and down and copy the keyframes. Copy, come to the left foot and get to the left foot up and down and paste the keyframe. Paste. Okay, so we have this. And then finally work on the lace. Get to the lace. Let me just use Alt right click. Alright. The lace for the right foot this time. So get to the right foot up and down movement so we can get the keyframes for the lace. Copy everything. We're copying this time. Get to the right foot lace. Get to the right foot up and down. Click to add a keyframe. Then come to frame 0 and paste. Alright, so we are done with the up and down movements. Alright, so you see everything was well transferred to the other side. Okay, this is distracting. Let me just take it out. I'm using the hide point to hide this. It's distracting. Okay, I think we're good now. Alright, so let's get back to for the mask this time. We'll get to the other part, the right foot up and down. No, we have not copied the keyframe. Right foot up and down to select everything, copy. So we'll copy this and then we'll get to the mask for the right foot. Get to the right foot up and down to and paste the keyframe copied from the paste it here. Okay. Do the same for the base. So we get to the base, the right foot up and down, copy, left foot up and down to left foot base, click add keyframe, get to frame 0 and paste. Good. Finally we get to the lace, right foot up and down to copy everything there, copy, left foot up and down to click to add a keyframe and then we paste. Right, so everything is now perfect, so we can go back to test. Right, so let's test and be sure that everything is working fine. So left foot. Okay, so that was a mistake on our part. We're supposed to interswitch, but I think we can fix that easily. Okay, so that's a mistake on our part. So we should just get to the left foot up and down, and then we change the direction of the rotation of this ball. Turn this up, and then we bring this down. Okay, so I believe everything is fine. So up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Right, so I think that's all we can do for this tutorial. So we see everything is fine. One thing you must take note of is that you cannot combine these two actions. You can't move this foot up and rotate it at the same time. There will be a distortion. So you have to use one at a time. You can only use one at a time. Okay? Right, so that's it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we'll be looking at how we create our hands and how we can create a hand turn.